Hi everyone, Sean back from the Sci-Fi Model Guy, and welcome to Chapter 9 of the U.S.S. Enterprise 1701D build. Now in this chapter, everyone, we are only going to be talking about the decals. There are a lot of decals on this kit because we ordered the aftermarket parts, or the aftermarket set of decals, so they're basically we're wrapping the entire ship. So I thought it would be important to detail how we go about putting these decals on, the things I learned, the techniques that I use for this particular model that did end up working really well. So I know there's been a few people out there that say to sand down the ship because there's all those little details in there and it makes it a little easier. That's fine. I didn't go with that option on this one. One, because I didn't know about it. And secondly, I probably wouldn't have gone with that anyway because it would have been a lot of work and it would have lost a lot of detail. So we went ahead and put all the decals on kind of in a traditional way. So we're talking about the technique, kind of how that was approached, and what we can do to get everything fixed. The whole point of this, everyone, is patience. If you want it to look right and you have this decal set, which I recommend getting if you're going to do this kit, just have some patience, have the right things in front. We're going to go over all of that in this video. And aside from that, if hopefully you joined us for our first live stream of the Sci-Fi Workshop, that's at least the name that we're going with so far, and we had the great Andy Masterson. We had a really fun conversation. I thought it was only going to go about an hour, but we went into a little 2+ hours and had a great time. We could have probably talked a lot longer. I want to thank everybody who joined in on that. That was such a pleasure. We peaked at about 35 people the entire time. We've had a couple hundred views on it, and I had a blast. It was so much fun. I've got a few more people lined up, everyone. So there's going to be a lot more shows. And the compliments and the comments in the chat, the engagement we saw, it was so nice. And it was just such a wonderful experience. I can't tell you. And we did finally pick a winner for the Enterprise giveaway from Carla all the way out in New Zealand. So Carla, we will be sending out that package to you as soon as we get the model built and talk to you about the specifications. But I was really glad that Carla won. I've actually interacted with Carla quite a bit on the pop culture side. Carla is a wonderful, wonderful human being, and I couldn't be more happy about the Enterprise going over to her. So hopefully we'll get that out to her soon and give her a few years of enjoyment, hopefully, with that model. But anyway, we're going to be having another live stream soon, probably in the next 3 weeks. I do have to head out of town, so by the time you actually see this, I will be on a plane or landed somewhere else, and I'll be gone for a couple of weeks. But we're going to make sure and release this video and Chapter 10 on time for you so we don't miss a beat. And we've got quite a bit of content filmed for the Bird of Prey that you guys might have seen me hint about. I actually showed a sneak peek of that in the live stream toward the end of where she's at. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Got a lot of content, a lot of new stuff coming. The show, it was such a fun time, and I just can't wait to do more and grow this talk show, this experience into something that I've been dreaming about. So hopefully all of you who saw it had a good time. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling, guys. On to the video, and we will see you down the road. Okay, everyone, I am going to do my best to get through this clear. I really have no idea how I'm going to go about discussing all this, but here we go. So over the last 2 or 3 days, I've been applying the decals to the ship. And if you recall from the unboxing video, they came on about 5 or 6 of these sheets here. And I was really concerned with the sheen on these, the glossiness. You can see how shiny that is. And so the good news is I've correctly countered that. Sorry about that, edit. The good news is I've correctly countered the shininess. So this is a good example right here. So we're looking at the underside of the ship, and I have recently applied the decals for this section of the ship. I had previously done the warp nacelles. Now, I don't know if you can see. Hopefully you can, but if you notice here, there is a reflection coming off of these decals, and there's not a reflection coming off the warp nacelle. And the reason for that is because I applied the clear coat to the decals once we were done. So I'll put the flashlight there. You can see there's no real reflectivity coming off of the warp nacelles, but there is absolutely coming off of here. So this one here is especially shiny right now because it's still drying. I applied some microsol. So let's talk a little bit about the microsol real briefly. The microsol is the second step if you're using these two products, microset and microsol. Microset is the first one that you use. Microsol is the second follow-up one, and that really seals these things down, and it's used when you have a lot of contours and weird shapes and stuff, and we've talked about that in the unboxing, that this ship has a lot of lines and grooves and the escape shuttles and stuff like that. Now, did have one viewer said that they'd made a few of these models, and what they do, and forgive me, I don't remember the name right now, but they sand the ship down to get rid of those bumps and stuff. I didn't see that comment until I had already started building this and painting it. Now, it's probably a fine solution, and when I read it, I kind of kicked myself and thinking, oh, man, that would have been nice to do. But then on further reflection, I thought, this ship is for me, and although I do want it to be as best as it possibly can be, this might be a really good control ship to see, would it really be worth it to sand it down? One of the concerns I would have with sanding everything down is I would lose where the windows are, because they are kind of sunken in there, but I have a feeling I would probably sand it down too much or something like that. It probably could work, and I do have another kit that I bought for this, so maybe I will give that a try on a second build and see what happens. But for now, anyway, it didn't seem to be proving to be too much of a problem. You see here, I did put these decals on after, so I do have to hit these with the clear coat. But I applied 4 or 5 coats of microsol to this, and if you have a lot of bubbles and a lot of silvering, as they call, or air bubbles, you can keep applying microsol to this and it will help get it down. If you have a particular stubborn air bubble or something like that, you can always take an X-Acto knife or a pin and prick it and get that to lay down better for you. There are a few in here, but overall I'm pretty happy with the way this has turned out. Oh, I got this thing turned out on me. I got to fix this. I got all wonky. I'm really happy with this. So the key is just several coats of the microsol, and the trick is you got to let it dry completely before you apply the next coat. And whatever you do when you're applying these things, don't press on it or rub, because the microsol actually dissolves this stuff and kind of turns them into almost like a paint. So the more you apply, the more it will hug around these contours, and the less of these little wavy lines you'll see. And I did that with the warp nacelles, and they came out really nice. So, like I said, there's a few, and I can experiment on the underside of these to maybe use the X-Acto knife, cut a little bit, and put a little bit more microsol and get it cleaned up. So there's that. Now, the other thing I want to point out here, as we take this away, because we're going to apply some decals here, and I'm going to show you the method that I'm using with this. So here's the saucer section. Now, going back to all the grooves and all those things that we were talking about, when I first did the unboxing, I was concerned about putting too many coats of paint because I didn't want to lose all that, right? I didn't want to lose these contours and things. So maybe it would have been better to put more coats on there, thinking on it with these grooves. So what I did though instead, because if I would have put a lot of paint on there, the paint would have hidden all this stuff. I want to see these things. So what I did was I opted for many coats of the clear coat. So I have here the Mr. Super Clear Matte. And this stuff is pretty pricey. It's $10.99 for a bottle, but it did work really well. And I probably put 7 coats on here. And you can tell the difference. Like when I run my hand over here, it feels a lot smoother as compared to the other side when I didn't do it. I've since applied them to here, but like what I mean is I applied 7-8 coats on the top, left the bottom untouched, and just kind of compared the two. And several coats of the Mr. Clear really did help. Now, if I wanted to take more time, I also have this stuff here. This is Mod Podge ultra matte. It's a pump bottle. Now they do have a spray version. I wasn't able to find it. You'd probably have to order it. Sorry, I was just checking the camera there. Let me zoom out a little bit. Whoop, there we go. I bought some of this Mod Podge, and it worked okay. I used it on the bottom part of the star drive section as a kind of a control. Again, the bottom, we're not going to really see that. So if this messed it up or didn't come out nice, it wouldn't have been a big deal. This worked. Okay, so it did. I was able to apply a lot of it. The thing is it did kind of collect very heavily in certain areas. So the thing about the pump bottle, it comes out in dots, so you kind of almost have to spray a lot down. I think with the spray version, it would have worked a lot better. I'm just wondering, maybe the spray version comes out like this stuff does, like the super clear. I'd have to experiment with it, but to order it, it would have taken a couple of days, so I just had to move on. This is $14.99 for this, and I think it would last a long time. It did take a little longer for this to dry, but as long as you've applied it, I do recommend, if you're going to use this, guys, definitely put on at least one coat, hopefully two, of some kind of a matte finish that is from Tamiya or from this for Mr. Super Clear or Testers or something that is actually made for models. Mod Podge is a very universal product, and it says it's good for everything, multi-surface, and all that kind of stuff. No brush strokes, non-tacky. But again, I didn't want to risk putting this on as the first coat because all the work we've put in and the money we put in on this kit already. So anyway, if any of you out there have used this, please make a comment and let us know. But anyway, all that being said, so now we are ready now to start putting some decals on the saucer section. I've put quite a number of the coats of the super clear matte, and I'm going to get those done. And you know what? Maybe what I'll do, why not? On the bottom here, I have also put a bunch of coats of the super clear. I will go ahead and put some of this Mod Podge on just to see. But well, maybe just do it in the middle here, and I can do it with a brush, like it says. It doesn't leave a brush stroke, so maybe I can smooth it out. Anyway, we'll decide that later. But anyway, right now, I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to get some stuff. I'm going to set these out, and then I will show you how I apply these things. And again, this is going to take a long time. I probably wouldn't get even this whole saucer done tonight. This takes a long time. So let me get set up, and I'll be right back. All right, let's get cracking here. So we have before us several items, and we're going to go around and talk about what we have going here to set up to put all these decals. Now, the first thing to state here is that the sheets that these come on are not in any really logical order. So I'm bringing out one of these sheets here, and what I'm talking about is the numbering that they use is all over the place. Sometimes it's sequential and it makes sense. Sometimes you have to hunt down one of these things on another sheet, and it can get a little bit frustrating. So as you can see here, there are a number of decals for this top side here. So one of the things to start with here is we want to make sure that we have ready a little pen. So we know we can cross out the ones we've done because it can become real messy. So right here, I'm going to start from the middle. We're going to start from the bridge and then work our way around. That way we can rotate the ship and, we're inward, start from the center and come out, so that way we're not touching the decals too much, so we want to avoid that. So what I've done here is I've cut out the first three decals that we're going to do. It's the center of the bridge there, and then these two next to it. And you can use the X-Acto knife on these, but if you're doing this kit, I've found that the scissors work fine. These decals are spaced far enough apart where you can weave the scissors in and out. Okay, I've got the X-Acto knife just in case, but I'll put that over here. So over here you'll see this yellow stuff. Now this is like a wax paper. This came with the decal set, and this is really good. I always hold on to this stuff because it's waterproof, and to wet these decals down, I don't like submerging these in a bowl. There's no need for that. You can just get them wet on a surface, and they will slide off. Don't put them in a bowl. Especially the little decals, they'll float off and float around the water, and you can't never get it off. So, so we've got that going. Now, the other little piece of material, equipment you're going to need are some tweezers so that you can pick this up, you know, and place it down without touching it. You don't want your fingers to smear these things because they will slip all over the place. The tweezers are a necessity. Of course, our really handy dental pick here, and we're going to make a lot of use of this because this little pointy part here is sharp enough to grab these things but not pierce it. It's not quite as sharp as an X-Acto knife because I can poke it, so I can grab and move these things around with this and then smooth it out with the rounded part. The next part that we have here for the equipment is a used brush. It's kind of messy, and we have our micro set. And with micro set, what we do is for each section, when we're going to put it on, we'll get a little micro set and brush it around the area that we're going to be laying it on. That helps grab the decal. It's pretty much vinegar. I don't know what else is in there, but I've heard if people just use straight vinegar, the decals tend to get yellow. So recommend just buy your own. It's not very expensive, and it lasts a long time. I've had this bottle for I just barely filled it back up. It lasted me probably 20 models, so it lasts a long time. Now I have it here in this little tape, in this electric tape, just in case I knock it, so I don't accidentally spill it. Just helps me to not spill, because I'm a klutz. So, and then of course our directions here, and the last thing that we're going to have here, you want to have a piece of blue towel or paper, you know, something sturdy, and you want to have it pre-moistened. This is damp. You just give it a few squirts, you know, of your water. Oh, that's the other thing you need. You need a bottle of water. And I recommend here, guys, use distilled water. Go to the store, buy a gallon of distilled water. You can get it the cheap store brand for $1.25. The distilled water I like because it's pure and there's no chemicals or no, you know, fluoride or whatever else they put in water that would tend to yellow stuff. Just use distilled water, and that will make sure that your decals stay nice and clean. So you want to get a towel here, and you want to make it a little bit damp because we're going to be using this to smooth the decals out once we have it on there. And you want it a little bit moist so it doesn't rip the decal. And sometimes you have to re-moisten it or something like that. So, okay, so there we've done it. We're around the horn here. And so what I'm going to do is move these two other pieces out of the way. So I was just looking at these patterns here, and I noticed this little guy right there is matching this one here. So that took a minute. All right, so we're going to spray this down. We're going to spray the back of it as well. So as you can see now, this water collects here, and this is great because if you ever have to slide these decals around, reposition them, you want to do that where you get your finger wet and do that. So, you know, I'll actually demonstrate that here in a second. So while that's coming across, now these are new decals, guys, so it doesn't take long at all for them to come apart from this. Really, literally only a few seconds. This is ready to go now. So let me get some of the micro set, and see, I almost spilled that there. See, that's why I have that little tape. Probably should put another roll there. Why don't I do that? There we go. That's much. Now I feel safer. Okay. So there we go. We've applied that, and then I'm just going to slide this off with my fingers a little bit. And I think that's missing the center. Yeah, it doesn't have any in the middle. So you can see there it's off-centered a little bit, which is fine. So now I'm going to get my fingers wet here to reposition that, because if with dry fingers, same what reason you don't want a dry towel, because you could rip it. And if you get wet fingers, you can kind of guide it along a little bit more easily. Man, I really misplaced this one. I wanted to do it misplaced on purpose to show you the sliding around, but a little too much. There we go. So some of these decals are pretty big. There we go. And it can take a few seconds. Just be patient. If you're moving it with your finger or you're trying to move it and it's not going, just get your finger a little bit wet again and keep trying. I'm just going to pull that a little bit. There we go. And I'm just using my fingers here to kind of set this in place. And it looks like it's really off. Okay, so this has got to be turned. And it's kind of hard at this angle, you guys, because normally I'm right on top of this stuff. But I've got my head out of the way here just for... so you don't see my head. Well, this thing is getting jacked up here. So I'm going to leave this in because this shows what to do when you have a potential disaster here. Here I was thinking I was going to be smart and show you how to rearrange these things. I guess you're getting the full show of that, huh? Well, okay, so that was an edit there. Had to rearrange it. I wanted to leave the bad stuff in there, but that just took too long. I had to lean over, really lean over and look at this, so I apologize. But it just took me a couple minutes there. Big thing is to not panic. Oh, the other thing, I ended up cutting it like that because I just couldn't get that one piece arranged. So that's okay. And if you need to cut a decal, like some of these are so big, it's okay to cut them into multiple sections because they line right up. I mean, it's, you know, very tightly. You'll never know that you would cut it into two pieces. So you can see here this wet thing. Now all I'm doing right here is just dabbing it and pushing a little bit of the moisture out. This can take a long time, you guys. So you especially with all the contours and things on this kit, you really want to take your time, especially on the saucer section here. This is going to be the part that people see the most. It's going to be the part where if you have a glaring mistake, air bubbles, you're going to see them here. So I can see there's these little ridges there. I think I'll probably end up cutting them out. I'll just poke them with the X-Acto knife. They will silver, as they call it, you know, when they get a little shiny. See, now this is still wet because I'm moving it, and it keeps removing this piece where I cut it, or I tore it rather. So I'm using this thing, and I'm giving just light pressure straight down. Trying not to wipe too much like this right now. Or if you do move it, it's just very lightly. Like initially you would just do this just to get the initial moisture off of the top of it. Later, as you get more, you spend more time on that decal, you can push down on it and then move it outward to push air and water out to the edge. You can do it from the middle out to this edge and middle into this edge. However it seems to work. Each decal seems to kind of have its own thing going on. Now that looks okay. Again, I'm really taking my time on the saucer section because it's going to be the showcase of the model pretty much. All right, so Once that's there, I'm just going to let it sit. Now, you can also you can do another coat of microset on top if you want. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'm not so sure on how good that works, because it almost seems like it makes it a little bit more wrinkly, but it could just be me. It does say you lay it down before and after setting it, and then when it dries thoroughly, then you come in with the microsol and set it. But for this kit, you guys, if you're doing these decals, even if you go with the option of sanding the kit down, you're going to want to use the microsol, especially because you've got these grooves in here. And these grooves, you're never going to sand it down so far where these grooves go away. Plus, you want the lines in there. These grooves are in there, so you're going to have that silvering thing to contend with going down there. You might even want to just take your X-Acto knife at the end and just make sure you get it all the way down. Or cut your decals accordingly to correspond with these lines. Bottom line is, when you're doing these guys, you need to have the patience of an ancient one, like the patience of a monk, because this is the final coat of paint, and I mean, you're essentially wrapping the entire kit. I mean, all the paint work we've done, all the work we did to prime and light block and then get the nice coat of paint under it. It's getting wrapped. I mean, pretty every square centimeter of this thing is being covered. So anyway, all right, we're gonna let that sit. Now I'm gonna take the next piece here. That's the oh wait, we didn't do one thing. We did not cross off 105. We got 108 and 107. And I'm using the purple here so I still can see the number, just in case I mess up there. But there we go. So I've crossed those three out because I've got them here. This one got a little wet on me, so I'll just do that. So now I'm just gonna do one more here. Put the micro set down, just kind of in the general area where it's going to go. And that's probably enough. Now I just want to check the picture here. So this little bit there, which is that, goes right up against there. So I just want to make sure I'm positioning this correctly. And I think I am. These are really strange shapes here. There we go. All right, now I get my finger wet. I can start moving this around. Now, if the finger doesn't work, always try a wet finger first, then go to your tools if you have to, because still, with these tools, you can still pierce it, you can still cut it. You can still scrape your paint. So the good news is, because this is being so stubborn and hard to move, it means we've got a really smooth surface there. And this stuff is grabbing on pretty nicely. Very nice. Okay. Look it up. Yep, that looks okay. Now to the thing. I'm going to get my towel a little bit more damp. Seemed a little bit dry. Don't want to tear my decal. And as that top layer of the micro set starts to see, you can start seeing it's going to look a little silvery. You'll see these little bubbles pop in. And you can come in lightly here and press down at this point, but I wouldn't recommend scrubbing like that, because the micro set on top. So what I'll do, once I get this one done, the next one here, I will avoid putting the micro set on the top, so maybe we can see the effect, and we'll determine what's better. I have a feeling it'll be good without the top layer of microset on there. You see why we want to work from the inside out on these things. And you might grab a little piece of decal off at some point. That's fine. Sometimes it's hard to find out where they came from. There we go. Now I'm just moving my head around here just because when I move my head, the light reflects in different ways and I can see air bubbles and stuff, but that looks pretty good. Okay, we're really zoomed in here and all of the wrapping is done on the upper section of the saucer. And wanted to show you a little bit about what I've discovered. So we talked earlier about the possibility of sanding down all of these lines, and you can kind of see all these little lines in there about sanding them down so that these decals get a flush adhesion. Now I didn't think about that, and even if I had I probably would have opted out. Now these little ridges and stuff do present a problem with the decals. I can't lie about that. Of course, now we're zoomed in very, very far, and you can see some of these little bit of air bubbles there, the little pockets. Some of these are the ridges, like there, right here. That's a ridge line. Actually, it just looks shiny here on the camera because I have not yet put the matte coat. So when we put the matte coat, a lot of this is just going to disappear, and you're not even going to see it. And the fact we are really zoomed in far. We're 3.3 times zoom right here, so it's like putting your eyeball right up next to it. But so let me zoom out a little bit, and again, this shininess, this reflectivity will go down. Now over here, we've really gotten rid of almost all of the air pockets and stuff, but I'm going to rotate it here, and you're going to see right here on this panel there, you see a lot of these ridges, like right here. There's an air bucket. You can see the decal kind of decompressing there when I poke it with the X-Acto knife, and here. So I'm going to show you here what I'm doing to get around that. Now let's zoom out a little bit. Now the first thing to note is that these decals are in sections that go down about like here. You can see these ridge lines in the ship. These decals are about that size, but we also have ridges in the ship going this way. Now, the first step I found for doing this, and I've been doing this for the whole top of the saucer sections. I've been working at it for a little bit now, a few hours probably, is to go along these ridges here with the X-Acto knife. Now, the first thing to point out is you want to make sure you have a very sharp, fresh blade on your X-Acto knife. And then what you're going to do is just very carefully follow the line around the ship with your knife. Now, if you had properly coated this with several coats of the clear like we had done before, you've got the 2 coats of the black, then you've got 2 or 3 coats of your primary base color, and then 5-6 coats of the clear. Using this X-Acto knife, you're not going to like scrape away the paint and show light leaks coming through. So that's the first key. So that's the first step there. So we're going to go along here and there. I'd already done this, so I'm just lightly doing there. Now what I've been doing here is wherever you see these air pockets there, and it helps to have a light shining, and you're going to have to move your head or move the ship around so that you can highlight and find these things. Now all you got to do is you just take your X-Acto knife and you give it a couple slices right where the middle of that bubble is. And again, you don't want to go too hard because even though you've got all this protective coating on there, you don't want lines showing up and you don't want to tear away the decal. You just want to make a little cut here so that the air can escape and that you can get your microsol down in there to properly make the thing the adhesion go. So the other thing to point out here are the escape pods. Now these are the decals that come with the kit. These are in a row, so when you put this decal down, I keep saying sticker, sorry. When you put these decals down, they are in a set of 5, so it's about that rectangle. So what you want to do here is very carefully go through here and also just go down and go in between these. Just carefully, very lightly. You may not even have to really cut through it. I'm doing air quotes there. Because you just want enough of a cut in there for the salt, the microsalt to get in there. So, all right. So next thing I'm going to do here, I've got a cloth here that's just slightly damp, and I'm just going to press down. Now keep in mind we have already put a couple coats of the microsalt on here, so you don't want to scrub like this. You don't want to use your fingers. You don't want to rub it like that because it's very, very soft. So you just very damp cloth and you push down to try to get those air pockets out. Okay, now the next step is you want to get a brush, like a decent sized brush here. Now I'm going to dip it in the microsalt here. The microsalt is the red one, and we're going to just dab it on here. Now I'm going to just push down with the brush, not too hard, but I'm just pushing it down to kind of mash it, and you can also do it like this. Okay. Give that a second there. Now I'll take the same rag and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to push down. We're not scrubbing. We're not pushing the air out to the side. We are just pushing straight down. And hopefully you will see this going away. Now you might see me, I'm going like this. I'm rocking. Now that's not to push it, sliding, but I'm kind of leaning this way to kind of help push this air out to one of the cuts that we made. Now you may have to do this a couple of times. You may have to do it 2 or 3 times. Like right here, like there's one here that's popping up. Like I'm pushing down on this guy right here. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. See, it's popping up. So we're going to get that. We're going to give that just a little bit of a poke. It's still coming up. Now you can spend a long time doing this. So you don't want to worry about getting it perfect. You want to get the big ones out, and then step away and take a look at it, and especially from a couple of feet, because that's the viewing distance. You know, like if you're obsessing with as much as we're zoomed in here, you will be doing this all day and eventually just end up cutting your decals apart. So you have to maintain a perspective, and it's very easy to get lost in this stuff. So very strongly recommend that when you do this, you take frequent breaks, you come away, you look at it, and then you also keep in mind that when you spray the matte coat on this, a lot of this shininess is going to go away. You're also going to, when you're done, put a final coat of the microsol on here, which will help get rid of some of the additional things, and you should be fine. But as you can see here, let's see, we've got another good one right there. They look like little veins, you know. So this one right here is one that is a little bit big. So we're just going to cut right along. I just cut right along that lane or that line, and I'm going to push down, and I'm going to rock my finger back and forth like this, and sometimes it will go away. See, now there it's coming back. You can see it kind of pop right back up there. So we're going to, I'm just going to give it a little bit more pressure there. Some of these are a little more stubborn. I'm going to apply a little bit more microsol. Again, I'm putting a little bit of pressure here and just rubbing one direction here. We don't want to scrub it. We don't want to scribble. Okay. Give that a couple seconds to set in there. Now we're going to go one more time and just press down. And hopefully most of these will be gone. Now, okay. Now, once you've got most of the big air bubbles out, you'll begin to see the little raised ridges of the ship. So we're gonna, like right here, there's a line, right there, there's a line, right here. Now those are part of the model. Now what you can do, if you want, you can go through here just lightly and just trace around those lines if you have some of the bubbles coming a little more than you'd like. Just a little. You don't need much. That will give any little bit of air that's trapped in there a chance to come out. Got a little bit more there. I'm going very more detailed into this one than I have on the other panels, because I just want to show you that it is possible to almost get this perfect. Now, as we continue on with this process, you'll notice I'm not making slices with the X-Acto knife. I'm finding specific points now, and I'm just kind of pushing a little pressure there, like poking holes, very small holes. And again, it doesn't have to go all the way through the decal. Sometimes just a little bit of a penetration is enough. Okay. Now, the other thing I noticed here is, oh, I've got a good one right there. And that one I dug a little too hard. But you can see there it's gone. And what I was saying though is I have noticed that on these smaller windows here, some of them I've just gone through just very lightly and just traced down with a knife, not putting much pressure on it at all, because I don't want to take out that the marker that we did, that 0.05 millimeter marker that we did to cover the unlit windows. But there we go. So you can see here, if you want to scroll the video back to check this out here. Now there's one more there. I think, why don't we just get rid of this one right here, just because we're doing this one perfect. Well, that one's being stubborn. You can see that little blood vessel popping up, huh? So we're going to go. Well, I dug a little bit deep on that one right there, didn't I? Yeah, sure did. So that's the danger right there. You can see I cut through to the undercoat of black, the air bubble, but that thing showed up. So anyway, you know, that's kind of a warning. That's like a good example of why we don't go too perfect. But you can, if you're very careful and you have a lot of patience and take a lot of breaks, you can really get this thing looking sharp. So let's zoom out. And as you can see here, when we zoom out to like a normal person distance, the decals look pretty sharp. You don't see very many air bubbles in here. Now, before I was doing all this, it didn't look good. I wasn't too encouraged, to be honest. But now that we've taken the time, and I kind of got a feel for what I was doing for correcting that, it's really come along great. And I didn't need to do all that sanding down and stuff. So pretty happy with this, and I'm looking forward to doing the matte coat on here like we did with the warp nacelles so far. So yeah, so that's it. That's a good 15-minute section there. That's why this series has taken such a long time. But I did want to make sure, like we've said, we want to make sure and document all of this stuff for you guys. So I'm going to continue, and just keep moving along here along the outer saucer. I've got about this much left to do. It's probably a couple of hours worth of work, maybe 3, but it's worth it. It's time well spent. And then, of course, we have to do the same thing on the underside of the saucer. But other than that, the rest of the ship is wrapped and decals are set, and it's looking really good.